What's up, YouTube? I'm back with another video, and today I will be talking about how to fix Captain Marvel in the MCU. And before we get into that, just want everyone to hit the like button, subscribe, and share. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year and reach 200 subscribers by the end of the month. Okay, so if everyone would just like and subscribe, that'd be great. And let me know your thoughts down below on how you would fix Captain Marvel in the comment section. I'll be down there replying and stuff like that. So before we get into how to fix Captain Marvel, we must get down to the problems, okay? And so, regardless of what people say, the problems with Captain Marvel is because she's woke, quote unquote, that whole BS, right? And the problem isn't Brie Larson, because I think Brie Larson can give you a good Captain Marvel. She's in the same position where Thor was in MCU, right? Where she has two either mediocre to garbage movies, and the stuff she does appear in doesn't really hit the audience as it should, right? She really needs a Thor Ragnarok, and I'm not saying a Thor Ragnarok where she has to be all funny and zany. That's not what I'm saying, but we need a total reboot as a character. And so one of the biggest flaws is the character itself. Like in the first Captain Marvel, she was boring, and in the Marvels they did a little bit better trying to improve the character, but it still wasn't hitting the same, because it felt like, oh, we're just gonna put her in these zany situations where she's like loving cats and stuff like that, which could work, but you need a lot more than that to capture an audience, you know? And so one of the main issues with Captain Marvel is she's arrogant, and also, and like when people say that, we'll be like, oh my god, well, Tony Stark was arrogant. But the problem is, the difference between Tony Stark and Captain Marvel is Tony Stark gets his shit pushed in, okay? He fails and he tries and tries again, and that's what makes it interesting. Like the first Iron Man, he's building this suit, you know what I mean? Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a bunch of scraps, you know? Captain Marvel doesn't really have that moment, you know what I mean? She doesn't have that getting it through the mud type shit, right? The first movie was very like, oh, did the whole thing where, like, you know, the men were talking down on her and stuff like that. They could have done something more than just that, where it's like, oh, she wants to be a pilot, she keeps failing, she's trying to try again, and when she finally succeeds, she becomes Captain Marvel through an accident. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a Hollywood writer here, but I'm just giving ideas of what they could have done, right? And the thing is, the problem with Captain Marvel is she's invincible. And so you don't have, we still don't know what the hell her weakness is in any of her stuff. Like, we don't know, other than like just being like super uber power. There's no like weakness to her. Like Captain America, he can get his shit pushed in. Iron Man, he can get his shit pushed in, you know what I mean? Like when you want to get Thanos, he still got his ass whooped, you know what I mean? Doctor Strange, like all these mega characters, Thor, they still get their shit pushed in. Captain Marvel's being pedestaled. And it's not due to like the character's fault. It's due to the poor writing. Like, we really need to get better writers to write this character, because they have Captain Marvel pedestal as the end all be all. Like when Captain Marvel show up, it's pretty much at the end game, right? And they made this mistake by immediately stacking her up against the big threats like Thanos and her holding her own, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, okay, if she can go toe to toe with Thanos, why do we feel scared for anything that she does? Why do we feel worried about her, right? And so it leads to this thing where every time she shows up as a fight, we feel underwhelmed and we don't care as much, because one, the character itself is boring, and two, she's just flying through blowing stuff up. It's kind of like, to describe it, it's kind of like this. Imagine you're playing a bad first-person shooter, right? Like the new Call of Duty, and you put it on the easiest mode possible, and you're just going through mowing down everyone. Like, it gets boring after a while. It's not like a satisfying reward, you know what I mean? And so I'm not saying they should depower her, but they need to bring up more things that can counteract her, so that when she's actually in fight, she's actually in danger, right? The Marvels had a missed opportunity where it could have been like, oh, because of the swapping, her powers are so dampened where like she could legit die. Like, this is like a legit threat, you know what I mean? But it doesn't really have that for me. Like, I might be tripping, you know what I mean? But like, I'd never really felt scared at all. And she doesn't have the difference between her and Superman is she doesn't have the supporting characters, where the supporting characters can get into you know, get into danger and you feel scared for them, and then you're like, oh my god, how is Superman or whoever's gonna show up and save them? She doesn't have that because she's in space by herself, you know what I mean? Unless you have like Goose, but like it's an interdimensional cat that can swallow people whole, you know what I mean? No one's gonna be scared for Goose. And so it leaves it where she's alone, she's this powerhouse, she can do whatever she wants. and it's making it so like you don't care about the character. So the first step will have to be making us care about Captain Marvel and not making her like Zen. She has to be cracking quips or whatever, but give her more to her. Her comic book counterpart was a lot more likable. And an easy way to do that, you could just have it where she and Miss Marvel become like a duo, where like she's mentoring Miss Marvel, and you can have it where let's say it's called the datification effect. So basically what it is, the datification effect is a writing tool where basically they give an unlockable character a kid, right? And them and the unlockable character raising the kid makes you end up liking the unlockable character, basically. So think of Lee Everett in The Walking Dead, where like he raises Clementine and like he becomes likable, and you become attached to Lee because you're both henceforth raising Clementine together, you know what I mean? You're bonding with the character. We need to give Carol Danvers something like that. I'm not saying give her a baby, but like, you know, her with Miss Marvel, pairing them together with like, okay, I'm gonna help you become the superhero that you need to be to do the Young Avengers, you know what I mean? And have her be actual likable and like stuff like that. It could be like a Batman and Robin type thing where like Batman is the stoic, no nonsense thing, and Robin is, well, Nightwing brings the joy and fun out of Batman. So you see her like, you know, crack jokes and be more lighthearted, be more open and stuff like that. And it makes it like, okay, I see y'all bonding. I like this bond. I like Miss Marvel, so I like Captain Marvel type thing. Another thing you could do is you can even like, instead of making it bigger and better where she's in space more, you can go with two options. Either the next movie, the third movie, takes place on a completely planet, not going to Earth at all, right? Completely different thing. Or you could do it where it's a down to Earth story, where the reason why we love Wonder Woman and we don't like Captain Marvel is because Wonder Woman has these, especially in her movie, right? Even in Wonder Woman 84, she has these things where she inspires like the young generation, does things heroically, where like you can't help but smile. Like when she was in the mall and she was like fighting criminals or whatever, and she smiled at the little girl after saving her and it went away. That stuff like that, Captain Marvel needs stuff like that where like she's saving a little girl or getting a cat out of the tree, something like that. And it's like, okay, all right, you know what I mean? That warms my heart a little bit, you know what I mean? She, like, Wonder Woman is sweet and empathetic. Captain Marvel isn't that. Captain Marvel is just like macho, like, you know what I mean, man. It's like, bro, it's like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying I don't want to sound like, oh my god, she should smile more. No, but I'm not saying that. But we need to improve our character. We gotta. This is like a PR team. We have to improve our character to the public. That's what we gotta do. But that would never happen unless we get actual good writing, which Captain Marvel desperately needs. Because, like, the Marvels, once again, is the biggest wasted potential. Because you have Miss Marvel, which the show, in my opinion, it was a huge disappointment for me, honestly. Especially that villain, my god. And so, you have it where you have all these things put together, right? And you're trying to balance all three characters who have their own separate arcs that needs their own screen time. And it really feels like Captain Marvel, especially, she's not at the stage where she can handle that. Like Captain America Civil War, you knew Captain America's character from the two very solid foundation movies. So when Civil War popped up, you're like, I understand Captain America's motivation and character. So through the story, I don't have to ask like, oh man, I wonder what Captain America's thinking right now. Like, you know, he's against this, obviously, right? Then you can have these other characters show up and like explain themselves, and you give time to them because you already have the foundation, the backbone of, okay, since this is already taken care of, we're gonna pivot to these other things. And so these things, the side characters raise up to Captain America's level, and it makes it an amazing movie. Captain Marvel has a garbage foundation as is, and you're trying to build a house on top of it for this movie, and it just keeps falling apart. Basically, it's kind of like I love having food analogies. It's kind of having a cake that's undercooked, right? And like you're trying to put icing on it, but it keeps like the cake keeps caving in. You know what I mean? You can't keep putting more icing on it until you fix the cake itself, if that makes sense. So, how would I fix Captain Marvel? You know what I mean? I've been giving examples and stories about the issue and stuff like that, but how would I really fix it? So first, what I would do is, once I was saying two options, right? If you want to do the down to earth down the earth story, right, at Earth, and doing a lot of things like the smaller stuff like Wonder Woman and stuff like that, you could do that. Another route you can go is Captain Marvel goes to the planet. You remember what she said in like Avengers Endgame? She's like, oh, there's other planets that need help, not just Earth, right? She goes to another planet or whatever. And you could do like, it starts off with a flashback where like Captain Marvel shows up. She's a beacon of hope. She saves this planet from whatever dictator that's in the third, right? And she leaves. And she doesn't come back. And so the planet goes into even more chaos because the dictator that left was like the lesser of two evils, right? And so the other evil rises up, ruins the planet, and people are pleading, hoping for Captain Marvel, and Captain Marvel never shows up. And so you could have it where it's a perspective from this little girl. She sees Captain Marvel show up, save the day, and leave, and she's begging and hoping to come back. Or like, no, you could have it where like Incredibles 2, where the mom saw Captain Marvel when she was a kid, pleading, hoping one day that Captain Marvel will come back. Captain Marvel never came back, and so the daughter is being raised to hate Captain Marvel because like, if you were here, you could have saved my mom. Like, man, like Monica Rambeau did, where like you left and my mom died and you wasn't there, type thing, right? You could have it where like, okay, she uses, you know, you could have it where like the technology or whatever can dampen Captain Marvel's powers, right? She like the little girl raises up to become like the new dictator and is building an army to take down Captain Marvel. He's like, I want her dead. You know what I mean? You could have it where like their technology mumbo jumbo dampens the Tesseract's power from Captain Marvel, whatever, making her weaken, not stripping all her power, but weaken her to a point where she can, if she gets jumped, you know what I mean, she can die, type thing. We'll give her a real threat. And then you could have it where she's trying to protect, you know, one of the people, like you know, an alien kid or whatever. Like the alien kid's a stowaway from another planet she was flying from. You know what I mean? And she's trying to protect her while on this galactic bounty hunt from the alien planet that she never returned to, right? And you can have it where she's protecting the kid, always on the run, and you can have it where it's bonded, where she's like teaching the kid lessons, then the third, and saying like, hey, you know, I'm not perfect, I made mistakes, blah, 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 blah. And it comes to a head where she has to meet the daughter that grew up hating her, and she has to basically be the hero that her mom told her about. Basically, it's like, yo, you have all this power, you turn into the thing that you always hated as a plot for revenge, blah, 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 blah. And that could be it. That's a heartfelt story. And you can see the cause and effect, and the villain goes against her ideals, the whole message of Captain Marvel's not a hero. And she proves she's a hero by protecting the innocent life of a kid. It's simple. And obviously you could throw in jokes and stuff like that. But like, stuff like that would really turn the corner and be like, oh my, like I understand now, I get it. Like, she's the only one out here, you know what I mean, other than Guardians of the Galaxy, that's trying her best, and she fails, but she comes back stronger and she helps the planet. And then at the end of the movie, you could have it where her and her crew, like let's say she formulates a crew, or the Nova Corps, so whoever, right, formulates a system where like she's going to different planets or whatever, and she's like keeping up with, make sure things aren't going out of hand, basically like a police thing, you know. Not a police thing is a horrible horrible like comparison, but like, you know what I mean, like a constant checkup, like a wellness check on all the planets, make sure everything good and dipping out of there, you know. And I think that would be perfect to show like also like her ideals, all this and the third. And it kind of reminds me of Flag Smashers from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but actually done well, where you actually care about the characters, you actually understand the plot. Or similar to Iron Man 2, where like Ivan Vanko father like worked with Iron Man's like father or whatever, but stuff like that. But you know what I mean. But that's what I would do. Let me know down below what y'all would do with Captain Marvel. I'm in the comments, and I'm out of here. Peace.